You're listening to Cars and Coffee, your local home for INDYCAR, Formula One, and sports car racing news.
Here on 91.3 WHJ.
And now, here's your host, Nathan Ward.
Hello, and welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJ. My name is Nathan Ward. We took a week off last week, mainly for the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and then I got snowed in at home. The whole country's dealing with a whole lot of snow. So, no show last week, mainly because of the race. But we're going to talk about the winners of the Rolex 24, the 4 class winners here in a second. But if you want to reach out to the show and come on as a guest, please reach out to carsandcoffee_WHJE on Instagram. We have a very interesting bit of GT World Challenge America news. It's a series I don't really cover, but a very silly car is entering the full season. It's the Riley Motorsports is entering a BMW M4 GT3 for amateur driver Slade Stewart and former Flying Lizard driver Andy Lee. And the car is painted in a design that was created by Slade Stewart's children. That is, it's called Sparkle Farts the Unicorn. So it's a very similar concept to like what AO Racing is doing with its like personalized character cars with Rexy, Spike, and Roxy, and there's going to be a Porsche GTP eventually if AO gets their way. But it's a great way to like encourage younger fans' interest in the series. And it's a very good looking car actually. I do like a pink car. It is very cool looking. Where's my mouse? Moving on to the big bit of IndyCar news, Prema is looking increasingly likely to miss the opening few races of the IndyCar season and may not make their season debut until the Grand Prix of Long Beach in April or mid to late April. So I don't know if it's probably a financial thing, but maybe that's why we saw drivers like Callum Ilott get IMSA seats to complement IndyCar, because maybe they're not doing the full season in IndyCar, and maybe they're not even doing IndyCar at all. But we will get back to IndyCar here in a little bit for something else that I actually find very awesome. But moving on to the Rolex winners, I really wanted to get the Rolex 24 highlights video posted to YouTube earlier in the week, but I got sick the second I even fathomed making more content. So our overall GTP winner was the number 7 Porsche Penske Motorsport Porsche 963, driven by Felipe Nasr, Julian Andlauer, and Lauren Heinrich. That's Nasr's 3rd straight Rolex win, and all 3 times he has done the final stint and taken the checkered flag himself. In LMP2, the number 04 CrowdStrike by APR car, which actually just won 2 races in the Asian Le Mans Series this weekend, George Kurtz, Alex Quinn, Mikkel Jensen, and Toby Sowery finally got their long-awaited class win at Daytona. They were the team that lost out by 6 inches in 2023 to the Proton competition one-off LMP2 car. So they finally get their win after a very tumultuous race. They had multiple spins, were trapped a couple laps down at some point, but they were able to come back and win it. In GTD Pro, a late charge from Mauro Engel in the number 75 Mercedes was unsuccessful, leading to a victory for the number 1 Paul Miller Racing BMW of Neil Verhagen, Connor DeFilippi, Dan Harbour, and Max Hesse. In GTD, the usual suspects, the number 57 Windward Racing Mercedes took the win after a close final hour battle with the number 44 Magnus Racing Aston Martin. Those 4 drivers are Philip Ellis, Russell Ward, Indy Donchi, and Lucas Auer. So those are the Rolex winners. I will hopefully have the Rolex 24 highlights package done very soon, where you can find it on the Cars and Coffee socials, on the Instagram, and on the This Week in Racing YouTube channel, where all of this gets uploaded after every show. But moving on to our first actual segment, I wanted to look at the state of the WEC's hypercar class for 2027. Because there have been multiple bits of news in the last couple weeks that have, it's been 2 weeks since I've been on air, but there have been quite a few developments for the 2027 hypercar class. that have led to a whole lot of speculation. So news broke on Friday that Honda, which has been campaigning the Acura ARX 06 in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, was finally looking at entering the FIA World Endurance Championship. Daily Sports Car, a very great reporting site for those interested in sports car racing. They cover pretty much everything. They reported that multiple industry sources have confirmed that a program based in Europe is under active discussion with suppliers, race organizers, and that final approval from Japan could be imminent. The effort would be Honda branded and would involve a rebadged Acura ARX 06, which is currently and uniquely campaigned in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. That effort is run by Meyershank Racing, and one of the two cars is essentially a factory car run by Honda Racing Corporation US, which used to be known as Honda Performance Development. The Acura brand, as a car brand, is not sold in Europe. It's a North America exclusive. It's a North America exclusive brand, kind of like how Lexus is for Toyota, except Lexuses are sold in Japan too. They're just not that common. But it's Honda's American-focused performance and SUV brand. So Honda would just take the Acura and rebadge it as a Honda and race it in Europe. There really is no needed development. It's the same car. The most likely service provider for Honda's European effort would be the Polish team Inter-Europol Competition, which is, they are known as the Racing Bakers because before they founded the race team, they were a Polish bakery company. They sold bread. That's their origin story. The Polish outfit, which made its sports car racing debut 10 years ago in the European Le Mans Series, has become one of the most successful LMP2 teams of the current generation, and notably has been an LMP2 home for Honda GTP drivers Nicky Ellerly and Renger van der Zande over the last couple years, allowing these Acura GTP drivers to still race at Le Mans even though the manufacturer they drive for doesn't attend. Notably, the GTP program will not be at risk if a WEC program is greenlit for Honda. The future of the manufacturer's INDYCAR program is, however, still unknown. I don't know how a home decision from Japan would affect a program that's operated by the American branch of Honda. But the way I've sorted this table here, I have the in for sure column, which is Ford and McLaren, which I have talked about at length on previous shows. They really did not need any more details. I'm in the possible category right now where I have Honda and Lamborghini. I just talked about Honda. Lamborghini, meanwhile, has prioritized the rollout of its new Temerario GT3 platform, while its LMDH program remains on pause. Daily Sports Car and other outlets sat down with Lamborghini's chief technical officer and interim motorsport boss, Reuven Moore, at the Rolex 24 last weekend. DSC asked for an update on the prospects of the SC63 hypercar returning to competition in the foreseeable future. He explained that with the racing arm of Lamborghini, Squadra Corse, later laser focused on its newest customer racing products, the Temerario GT3 and Super Trofeo platforms, and appointing a new motorsport boss in time for the start of the European racing season. It cannot currently justify the expense or attention required to get its prototype program back up and running. As a result, the SC63 project remains on pause after being shelved at the conclusion of the 2025 IMSA season, which saw a single Riley Motorsports-supported car contest the 5 Michelin Endurance Cup races. Sports Car 365 did report that at least 5 or 6 teams had shown interest in becoming the partner team for a revived Lamborghini program, a program that would include a return to the WEC and the 24 Hours of Le Mans, like the brand went to in 2024. Lamborghini's initial plan was to develop the car during 2025 while competing as a factory team and then shift to a customer-focused model from 2026 onwards. However, despite the SC63 taking steps forward with a significant update focused on the car's rear suspension and a suite of potential customers coming forward to explore running the car, Lamborghini made a firm choice to keep the SC63 project on ice for 2026 due to financial reasons. Moore said, quote, "There's still potential for it to come back, but on certain boundary conditions. I could tell you that we've received a lot of requests requests, even though we were surprised that there were at least 5 or 6 serious requests from customers in the US and Europe for teams that said they had sponsors and asked if we wanted to continue or if we were available. The SC63 will also be eligible for the Asian Le Mans Series' new Pro-Am Hypercar class in 2027, but the priority for the brand remains the Temerario GT3 and replacing the massive Huracan Super Trofeo one-make championship series with the new Temerario model. So, if you're unfamiliar with how Super Trofeo works, there are multiple Continental Super Trofeo championships where they all run the same Lamborghini Huracan in race trim. It's essentially a highly modified version of the GT3 car that is tailored more to amateur drivers, and there's like 30 to 40 cars per series. And then they have this big world final every year at some racetrack in Italy. Usually it's Misano. I think it's moving to Monza this year. But as they roll out the new GT3 model, the Temerario, which I have seen in person before, the Temerario is an absolutely gorgeous car. The Super Trofeo platform also has to be replaced, and it has to be done in a very cost-effective way to keep these amateur drivers in the series, because they're not always the most financially sound teams, unlike these professional factory-backed teams. But Super Trofeo is a really fun series, and that transition is going to start, I think, this coming year. The big issue with the SC63 is the fact that when it was homologated, when its performance was locked in before the 2024 WEC season, it had the single chassis that was used to homologate the car had recently crashed at a preseason test at Paul Ricard and damaged the car to the point where the car that was homologated had several performance discrepancies compared to the actual design. So they essentially locked in a crashed car for the 2024 season, and they had to use their allotted Joker updates to fix the car, and that cost them a lot of money and a lot of time, and they did not have a lot of return until the final race of last year at Petit Le Mans, where they finished, I believe, 4th. Moving on to the unlikely column, the unlikely to return column, I have Porsche. According to a Daily Sports Car article published before the Rolex 24, Porsche and Penske are hoping for a WEC hypercar return, quote, way before 2030. During a pre-Daytona press conference, Roger Penske said that we want to go back and hopefully that'll be the case. We've made some changes in the company and we'll see what the new leadership's decisions are. Running in both places, WEC and IMSA, is financially a big commitment, and I think it was wise for them based on the situation. We were close at Le Mans last year, nearly going last to first with the number 6 car, by the way, and we want to go back, and we will. We've kept all the infrastructure in Mannheim, where the European base of the team is, and we've got the best people. We kept a number of key people. We can backfill some areas, but we brought a number of those people here this weekend because it's just more domain knowledge that gives us the benefit of hopefully producing another victory, end quote. But when asked about a return in 2027, Penske said, quote, I'd love it to be the case, but it's not my decision. So really, it just comes down to what is the financial state of Porsche in 11 months, to whether they can come back with the full Penske program, or if they're willing to give Proton Competition some extra money and have them putter around until Penske is ready to come back, so that the American Porsche teams can still contest the 24 Hours of Le Mans. There is one brand that really came out of left field the other day where its future is really in doubt, and it's Alpine. Now, Alpine as a Formula One team has not been doing very well recently. They have recently switched from being the Works Renault team with Renault engines to becoming a Mercedes customer, because the Renault Formula One engine, at least in the previous rule set, was, I think, 25 horsepower down on the other 3 offerings from Ferrari, Honda, and Mercedes. But Alpine is looking increasingly likely to exit the World Endurance Championship after 2026 due to increasing strain on the French carmakers' finances. Alpine, which is the performance brand of the greater Renault group, is still not profitable as a standalone car brand. A few years ago, the stated objective was to reach break-even by 2026, with the launch of the A390 electric vehicle expected to play a major role in that ambition. But many question if the brand can be salvaged at all despite growing sales. The motorsport programs are reportedly under increased scrutiny, and the historic Viry-Châtillon engine plant could be sacrificed in the name of profitability. That is where the Formula One engines were built, and that is currently where the hypercar engines are built and maintained by Mechachrome. While the Alpine hypercar program is successful and has become increasingly successful, taking its first win at Fuji last year, the real issues lie in the Renault Group's finances. The Race, another great news outlet, obtained new information that reveals that the delay to the release of the WEC entry list for 2026 was not only caused by Proton Competition's failed efforts to keep Porsche on the grid, but also by the Renault Group's hesitation to approve an extension of the Alpine program. A one-year extension was eventually given, but the future of the program beyond 2026 is becoming increasingly bleak. I don't know what to think of Alpine, because Alpine, frankly, as a brand, has been in a dumpster fire the last couple years, ever since the 2024 F1 car was such an abject failure. They had to essentially just throw the season in the bin. But Alpine leaving, especially with the addition of Genesis, Ford, McLaren, and potentially Honda, and the return of Lamborghini, and a return of Porsche, if you're the ACO and you see that Alpine it's got one foot out the door already, do you prioritize all of the other manufacturers pursuing entries over a manufacturer that can only continue to commit to the series on a year-by-year basis? And if I were the ACO, that's what I would do. I would let Honda take a spot over Alpine. I definitely let Porsche take a spot over Alpine. Genesis is already in. Lamborghini, I probably would, because honestly, that car has so much untapped potential that it's the only Ligier-based LMDH hypercar out of the 4 chassis suppliers that you can pick from. Lamborghini was the only brand that chose to base its car on the Ligier design. But with Honda, Lamborghini, Ford, McLaren, and potentially Porsche coming back in, I don't know if I would give Alpine the benefit of the doubt that they can make it to the next year. It's kind of like what Vanwall ended up doing, except Alpine and Vanwall are very, very different brands in terms of actual success. But in terms of Alpine not being able to commit beyond 2026, if I were the ACO selection committee who has to decide the entry list for the next season based on applications, I think I would take another hypercar manufacturer over Alpine, because if this is going to continue, if the financial state of the company is going to continually be this bad, I don't think it's going to be wise to keep them on the grid and keep other manufacturers that can commit for multiple years out. But that's kind of where the 2027 field sits for the WEC hypercar class. I may do a completely separate video or some extra website content on the Asian Le Mans series and what we might expect for the addition of a Pro-Am hypercar class with bronze-rated drivers driving these hybrid machines. But that's all I have to say about the World Endurance Championship. Speaking of the website, you can check out all of the stuff that my fellow staff members have done at WHJE.com. And you can follow WHJE_radio on Instagram as well. We will be right back here on Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. Coming up next is our Race Cars For You featured listing of the week, and it's a NASCAR Xfinity Series car with a bit of movie history. We will talk about that when we come back. Here's Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd.
Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE.
Hello and welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. That was Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, one of my favorite songs of all time. Our second segment is our racecarsforyou.com featured listing. This week I found a Cars 3 liveried NASCAR Xfinity Series Ford Mustang from 2017 that was driven by Bubba Wallace. For just $80,000, you can own a piece of NASCAR and movie history. A Ford Mustang NASCAR Xfinity Series car run by Roush Fenway Racing has popped up still in its paint scheme promoting the movie Cars 3. The car won a stage at Dover and has since been moved to the UK, where it has made several appearances at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. The car comes in great mechanical shape, and specs can be found in the description if you're listening on YouTube. And I don't understand half of what I'm looking at, but if you understand NASCAR build specs specifically, there's a bunch of them about the engine. It's a Yates engine, serial number 142, a very durable engine builder. The Robert Yates Racing engines for these NASCAR Fords. This car has also been at Silverstone Festival, CarFest, a lot of other UK-based car shows. It appeared in a documentary about Bubba Wallace on Netflix, and of course it promotes the incredible movie Cars 3. And it's in really good, it looks really good. I like the paint scheme. It looks like a character from the movie. I can't name him off the top of my head, but it has 2 engine hours. The engine is essentially run one race. So you're looking at a very low use engine. It did end up in the UK. I'm not sure how it did end up in the UK, but it says here in the description that it was built as a cup car for Carl Edwards and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 2014. I believe this is the era where we're still on the Xfinity series, or it's now the O'Reilly series now. They're still on the Car of Tomorrow. When NASCAR switched to the Car of Tomorrow from the Gen 4 in 2008, the then called Nationwide series followed suit, and then they just kept iterating upon the car because the racing was so good. Like, some of these chassis that are racing in the Xfinity series are older than me. Because they are like first generation Car of Tomorrow cars that are just rebodied and re-engined. But the versatility of these cars is great. They're great on pretty much every circuit. They're apparently incredibly fun to drive, but Fords especially are becoming quite rare. The Xfinity, now O'Reilly series, has been increasingly dominated by Chevys. So Fords and Toyotas popping up are becoming increasingly rare. But this car is pretty awesome. If you're listening on YouTube, I will throw up some photos. But speaking of YouTube, if you miss a show and you want to go back and listen to any previous show, here's how you can do it.
Want more racing news and highlights along with full show replays?
241.428 miles an hour.
Head over to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of Cars and Coffee and highlights from your favorite racing series. Just go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. That's where you can find the Rolex 24 highlights video once I get it done today, because I got sick and it got delayed. So, moving on, we'll probably just move on to the next segment here. There really isn't that much in the listing about this car, but
it is a very, very neat car, and I've been looking at a lot of sports cars and GT cars and stuff like that over the last couple weeks on this website, so I thought I'd spice it up and find something a little bit more out of the ordinary. Moving on, our next segment will be about INDYCAR's surprise late addition to the 2026 schedule to help celebrate the 250th anniversary of our country. We will talk about that more after this song break. Here's Ramble On by Led Zeppelin. Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. Hello, and welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. That was Ramble On, one of my favorite Zeppelin songs. On Friday, President Trump signed an executive order green-lighting the development of a street circuit on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. for an IndyCar race this coming summer. This race, called the Freedom 250, will take place on August 23rd, 2026, slotting in between the races at the new for 2026 Markham Street Course in Canada and the doubleheader at the Milwaukee Mile. The series said, quote, "This event will recognize the historic milestone of America's independence in addition to celebrating the unparalleled tradition and legacy of America's motorsports industry. This event, part of the America 250 project, celebrating the 250th anniversary of our independence, will be assembled on a very short time span of just 7 months from announcement to race, but if anyone has the money to fast-track something like this, it's the United States government. This brings the number of 2026 IndyCar races up to 18, with 6 races each on ovals, street courses, and permanent road courses. Roger Penske, who Trump awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom during his first term in 2019, is close friends with the president, which is the most likely reason this was able to come together so fast after the initial negotiations at the end of last season fell apart. Racer.com has confirmed that the new race is a full points-paying championship event, and according to the series, the street circuit event will be free to the general public and include vantage points of several majestic symbols of national pride and unity. More details about the course and the event will be shared during a kickoff gathering in the coming weeks. This kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it kind of did and it kind of didn't. But I'm all for it. Like, you want to celebrate this massive milestone for our nation, go for it. Like, to all the people that like gripe about this, it's to celebrate our country. I'm not gonna get political beyond that, but that's the gist of what I'm saying. I think this is a fantastic idea, and I do have a few questions about it. The Penske Entertainment Co-owner Fox Corporation, through its Fox Sports division, pushed for the Washington, D.C. event and wants more like it throughout the nation. We've heard Denver be thrown around. We've heard a couple other places, but mostly Washington, D.C. and Denver have been the top two ones. There's no better place to celebrate America's independence than our nation's capital, and no better way to showcase that spirit than through IndyCar, a sport built on speed, innovation, and competition. These are the words of Fox Sports CEO Eric Shanks. Bringing this race to Washington, D.C. during America's 250th birthday is a powerful way to honor our past while celebrating what's ahead, and all of us at Fox Sports couldn't be more proud to showcase this event to the country. The last time a road race occurred in the U.S. Capitol was a one-off American Le Mans Series event in 2002, but before that, you have to go all the way back to the 1920s. I think this is going to be awesome. This is going to be great publicity for IndyCar. The fact that anyone can just show up and watch the race will be great. But the thing is, I'm still wondering, how on earth is this going to make money? This is probably going to be federally funded, i.e. taxpayer funded, but how are the teams going to find money in their budgets for another race when they have been under the under the illusion for several months that there will be a 17 race season and not an 18 race season? How do the teams find money for this? Will on-track advertising be permitted as normal? Because you see, like, the walls are covered in logos on most street tracks. But the thing about the National Mall, I think it's illegal there. You can't advertise, you can't do, like, street advertisements on that federal land. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I don't know how advertisers are going to deal with that, especially with something that's going to be so easy for people to show up to. I think you're missing out on maybe getting rid of that for this one event, or giving IndyCar an exception, because that would make IndyCar a lot of ad revenue. It would make the government a lot of ad revenue. But I don't think the TV numbers would be enough to justify advertising the race. So I think there would have to be like physical in-person ads on the track, like usual on other street circuits. We have also not heard of any support events. That's probably something that will be shared during that kickoff gathering. I don't believe Indy Next will be there, because if there's any series that runs on really, really fragile budgets, it's Indy Next. I don't think they'll be there. I don't know if the USF series will be there. USF 2000, USF Pro, USF Juniors. I don't know if they'll be there. I don't think they're going to change anything for like GT World Challenge to accompany IndyCar. This may be just a standalone IndyCar event, which is fine. But I think, especially if it's free, I don't think that's a super big deal if it's free to the public. But if it did cost money, I would be probably wondering, hey, where are the support races? Where's the other stuff going on? But I think a lot of the money stuff will solve itself here in the next couple months until the race starts. But building a street track and coming up with a street track idea and getting the permits for it and all that's going to take a while. But to be fair, it's the government doing it, and the government can probably just ignore all the red tape they want. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, because if it was, they wouldn't be doing it. But I think it's an absolutely great idea. I think it's going to give IndyCar a whole lot more publicity and a whole lot more fan accessibility if you could just walk up and watch this race. The one thing that I have a gripe with is the fact that the official White House account and the official all the official government accounts are advertising this race with AI generated photos and videos. I don't like doing that. I'm not an AI guy. I never will be. But I think you're making it seem a bit unserious. You're the U.S. government. You can pay whoever you want to make a really good promo video, but you want to have it instantly, so you just settle for AI, and I just don't think it looks good. I could probably make a promo for this race, and I probably will eventually, but my only gripe with this is the fact that they're using AI to advertise it. The whole premise of this race is an amazing idea. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having another race on the schedule. I'm looking forward to having a completely balanced schedule. The IndyCar schedule is now up to 18 races, with 6 races each on oval, street courses, and permanent road courses. This really checks a lot of boxes for IndyCar. You have your East Coast race. Well, East Coast in air quotes. Washington, D.C. is close enough to the East Coast, but it's near that big population center. Washington, D.C. is not far from Baltimore, Philadelphia. It's not super far from New York. It's further than Philadelphia, but in theory, you could make a day trip out of it if you live in New York. But it's close enough to a lot of major U.S. Eastern population centers that I think you're going to draw a massive crowd, and I think you're going to draw a massive crowd anyway because the race is free. But there's so much positive impact that IndyCar can make with this event. I hope it becomes a yearly thing, not just for America 250. I'd love to see IndyCars on the streets on the National Mall every year. That would be so awesome. But I'm really looking forward to see how this is going to play out, and hopefully it's a great success, and hopefully the track is good. I haven't really truly looked at a map of DC or the area around the National Mall. You can't get too close to the White House. I can't imagine they'll get super duper close to other really important federal buildings, because that building a street course around there will impact traffic and the ability for these institutions to operate. So I don't know how they're going to approach that, and I may come up with some other ideas for developing a street circuit. But I haven't looked at the map yet, so I don't know where they could even possibly build this, where the proximity to the National Mall is good for publicity, but good for not shutting down the government for a few weeks, which we're fine with doing anyway. But I don't know how the track's going to work. We haven't even had a sniff of what the track might look like. But other than that, and other than all the AI stuff, I am very happy with this. I'm very excited. I really hope this becomes a multi-year event. I really hope it's not just a one-off, because IndyCar, I think, really found a diamond in the rough here with a U.S. government that is willing to give them such a slam dunk event like this. And I really hope it's a massive success, and I really hope it kind of catapults IndyCar back into the prominence it had in American culture pre-split. Because I wasn't alive for this. None of my generation was. But before the split, IndyCar was the form of racing in the U.S. that every race fan in America was like, yeah, that's the top of the pile. Post-split, it's below NASCAR, and even at some points in the year in popularity below IMSA. But I think this is the kind of event you need to catapult IndyCar back into the America's favorite racing series. That's what you need to get back on top after such a disastrous, I don't even know, the 12-year split and then the post-split stagnation. This is what you need to get out of the hole. And I think IndyCar is finally managing, after all this time, to get it to crawl out of the hole and try to climb the ladder to become America's top motorsport again. And that is going to be awesome. I'm super excited for the Washington, D.C. race, and hopefully my questions will be answered within the next few weeks. I will put any updates to the event into future episodes of Cars and Coffee. So, if you want to hear that, please tune in every Sunday morning at 11:30 a.m. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Cars and Coffee. I'll be back next week at 11:30. Here is Loser by Beck.